Hello again, this is Mother Mantis. Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Protheans, their history, their lore, and their downfall. The Protheans occupy a very important place in the Mass Effect story, and I thought it would be interesting to dive a little deeper into their beliefs, their culture, and their place in Mass Effect history. This video will cover events that are already ancient by the time the Mass Effect story takes place, but I am going to be using various game footage, so as always, use common sense when thinking about your tolerance for spoilers. And if you'd be so kind, if you enjoy this video, to hit the like or subscribe button down below, it would be really helpful and I would really appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who has subscribed so far. Also, I'm doing live streams now every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. PST. Right now we're doing Mass Effect 2, so come check those out, okay? Okay, let's go. In the Mass Effect universe, there is one species that's generally considered by most citizens to be the father of the current galaxy society, the most advanced society to have existed, and that's the Protheans. Archaeological ruins pertaining to them can be found all across the Milky Way galaxy, but although the Protheans were very advanced, they weren't the first or the only species to be that advanced. Before them, others came and went who were even more advanced than them. Most players know at least a couple facts about the Protheans. For example, they helped selected species advance, including humans, and once they were defeated, they were modified and they eventually became the Collectors. But the Protheans are generally thought of as having been wise and benevolent rulers who uplifted certain species into advanced knowledge, and though they did uplift and foster certain species, they were anything but benevolent. Here are 7 facts about who the Protheans were and what their culture was really like. They have 2 toes per foot and 3 digits on each hand. They have 4 eyes, each with 2 pupils and 3 nostrils, and they have unusual genetic traits. Unlike humans, Protheans have a 4-strand DNA instead of a double helix. They can touch someone and instantly learn their languages and absorb their memories, but they can also exchange memories with another being as well, Prothean or not. Protheans had a doctrine called cosmic imperative, in which the weak were subjugated by the strong, and they practiced slavery under this doctrine because the Protheans believed they had the right to rule because they were the strongest. Much like the Roman Empire here on Earth, conquered species and planets were subsumed into the Prothean Empire either as slaves or subjugated citizens, and all of them eventually became Prothean citizens simply because they could not withstand the Prothean military force. Protheans would not interfere with less developed species, they would simply observe them. This is, for example, what led Liara Tassoni to believe, incorrectly, that the Protheans were the only species that had spaceflight in their time, because everyone who was sufficiently advanced belonged to the Prothean Empire. At the time of the events of the first Mass Effect game, the Protheans are already long dead. Many of the technologies used in the current game timeline are from the Prothean time, so many folks assume they were created by the Protheans. But in Mass Effect 3, Javik reveals that the Protheans did not in fact build the mass relays or the Citadel. They merely augmented technology that they themselves had been shown by an even more ancient race, the Inusanin. Protheans also had a habit of eating species like the Salarians and the Hanar. In Mass Effect 3, you'll hear some funny lines from Javik about how Salarian liver is best served at room temperature, and preferably pulled from a still-living Salarian because fear produces an interesting spice. He also comments that the Protheans thought the Quarians, who back then did not have to wear environmental suits, and the Asari were attractive despite being primitive, and that some Protheans dated Asari. Dated is the word he uses, but his tone implies that it was something a bit more coerced than that. Protheans learned from other technologies left by an even more ancient culture called the Innu-Sanin. The Innu-Sanin were wiped out by the Reapers some 127,000 years earlier, and not much is known about their culture other than that they lived on Ilos at some point. But the Protheans were themselves very good at taking old technology and expanding and improving upon it to make it their own. Aside from thinking they were attractive and dating them, the Protheans monitored the Asari on Thessia and decided to invest in them more heavily by giving them technologies, and they also influenced, to a great degree, the Asari religion and culture. They also genetically influenced them to impart and build biotic abilities as a natural strength in the Asari. When the Reaper invasion became dire, the Protheans chose the Asari as the best hope for the next generation, and they went to the Asari disguised as gods and deeply and rapidly advanced their technology, science, and culture. If you take Liara on the missions to Thessia, she will learn all of this, and it's a very impactful moment for her. The Protheans chose the Citadel as a center of government to monitor all of the various species they had subjugated. They gathered vast intel on cultural habits and all kinds of data about their subjects, and they kept updated census data on their empire housed at the Citadel. But of course, the Citadel is really just a trap laid by the Reapers. Once the Keepers facilitated the mass relay to admit the Reapers swiftly captured the Citadel and killed the Prothean Empire's leaders. The Empire leadership was able to get out only one warning to their diverse and far-flung holdings around the galaxy. The Reapers then gathered all of that census data and military intel, and they used it to absolutely decimate the Prothean Empire. However, the Protheans had been able to accomplish a few vitally important things. They had moved the Citadel closer to where they found plans for the Crucible, which interrupted the connection between the Keepers and the Reapers. This meant that the Keepers could not automatically activate the deep space mass relay the Reapers needed for their invasions. Essentially, those Protheans gave whoever followed them in the next cycle a fighting chance, and themselves had gotten closer than any previous species in actually developing the Crucible, and they left records of that work. That work delayed the Reapers long enough in the current cycle that it was then possible for Shepard to create survival options. So the Protheans were an imperialistic, slave-owning, and warlike culture who ruled the galaxy in their own time with an iron fist. But they did also, when they realized that their cause was lost, do everything they could to make sure that the cycle that came after them had a fighting chance.